Welcome everyone. It's time for another Flat Earth TikTok debunk. The derp is strong with these, so facepalm protection level 10 is strongly recommended.
Imagine if somebody took the whole Earth and cut out a small circle. Then they took that circle and wrapped it around a sphere and told you that's where you live. That's all there is. How would you know? Now imagine that our world is a much larger, expansive plane with many world ponds, and they did the same thing with a small section of one pond. They cut it out and wrapped it around the sphere and said, "This is where you live. This is all there is, and you're not allowed to explore south." How would you know? It's time to break the matrix of the globe Earth mind prison.
Imagine if we are stuck in a matrix of the globe Earth mind prison. How would some people know about the lands beyond this yet-to-be-proven ice wall? Could it be because some of those people are overusing their imaginations to justify their belief system instead of living in reality?
Watch this video until the end. Guys, I feel like the Flat Earth community has this almost right, but let me clue you in on the rest. Okay, so Flat Earthers mostly believe that we live on a plane like this and there's a firmament and our greater and lesser light are in here, the sun and the moon. Well, let me clear this up. This is incorrect. Yes, we do have a firmament. Yes, we live on a flat plane, but the sun being our greater light, the lesser light is not the moon. The moon is something we made. In fact, the Earth looks a lot more like this. This is, well, if you don't know what this is, then everyone has failed you. This is what our Earth really looks like. We have a sun above, a sun below, and we live on a flat plane in the middle. That's how that works out. That's how there's a as above, so below. Notice how the sun makes light, the moon doesn't. So how is the moon the lesser light? To be totally accurate with you, we have a white sun and a black sun. You don't believe that the sun is white? What does that say? I didn't make that up. The moon itself is, well, it's just a satellite. See for yourself. This is the proof of it right here. We have a white sun and a black sun, and that's what the yin and yang means. We live in a middle plane, which has to do with a mixture of both energies. The black sun sends its light up through the center of our Earth, and it comes out as what we know as the aurora borealis. And this right here controls the matrix of the physical universe that we live on.
Yes, the sun is white. If he would have read more of that paragraph or looked at the site the result was based on, he would have found something like this. This is from stanford.edu. The following, linked below, is from the Stanford Solar Center. Young children usually color the sun yellow or orange or even red. Have you ever thought about what color the sun actually is? How do you think you could find out what color the sun really is without looking at it, of course? It is a common misconception that the sun is yellow or orange or even red. However, the sun is essentially all colors mixed together, which appear to our eyes as white. This is easy to see in pictures from space. It goes on to explain about rainbows and wavelengths, and the electromagnetic spectrum. It ends with, sometimes the display color of the sun is culturally determined. If a kindergartner in the USA colors a picture of the sun, they will usually color it yellow. However, a kindergartner in Japan would normally color it red. In spite of these artistic differences, the sun really is white. Did you notice how he ignored the words Earth's only natural when describing the moon as just a satellite? He then showed a yin and yang cartoon that was based on artistic license, and then claimed the aurora borealis controls the physical matrix of the world we live on. Dear oh dear. This just further proves that flat earthers can't science.
The Earth is flat. And simple experiment shows how. The object spins and levitates using an electromagnetic force. The smoke is added with a dome bubble. The object represents the sun and the smoke is gas in the atmosphere. All contained, like the Earth realm.
Though that looks very cool, it's not reality. It's just an explanation to replace reality.
Every picture of the Earth is CGI. This was the owner of NASA, Wernher von Braun, and on his grave he has Psalms 19:1, which is a Bible verse. The Bible verse is, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." Why would the owner of NASA have this on his grave? Alongside of that, NASA in Hebrew means to deceive, beguiled. On top of that, look at what happens when I type in flat earth backwards into Google. NASA is the first one that comes up. Everything in this creation has a torus field, which is an electromagnetic field. At the center of this electromagnetic field, between the two poles, you have the plane of inertia, which is the heart chakra. The plane of inertia is the 0 point between the two poles. This is why we have duality here. Everything's torus fields. Atoms are torus fields. The Earth is a giant torus field. This is why the Earth is green, nature is green, and the sky is blue, because blue comes after the green chakra. This is why all compasses point to the North Pole, because it's the center of the torus field. This is where the most electromagnetic energy is stored within the field. Earth can be rearranged to spell heart, because we live on the plane of inertia, the center of the torus field, the green chakra.
Wernher von Braun was not the owner of NASA. And Psalms 119 was possibly one of his favorite Bible verses, which is why his family included it on his headstone. NASA is an acronym which stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The Hebrew word for to beguile is transliterated as nasha. The Hebrew word for to lift up is transliterated as nasa or nasa. Because the spellings of the words are similar, flat earthers always get confused. So typing flat earth backward into Google brings up NASA. Okay. If I type Earth in backwards, I get the results for DC Comics Bizarro World. Though toroidal fields do exist, the rest of that was complete woo.
Ooh, we might have done it again. We may have solved a biblical mystery. And whether you're religious or not, this affects you too. If you would have told me even a year ago that I would one day be a flat earther, ooh, I would have laughed at you so hard. But over the past few months, my world has changed. My flat world. As has the whole world itself, in many, many ways. But if you haven't noticed lately, people are beginning to open their eyes.
Okay, this needs to be taken talking point by talking point.
Fresh off the heels of accusations to NASA that they have been faking and fraudulently sharing videos of the ISS using green screens and harnesses and invisible wires to fake footage that is actually filmed in a pool, along with recent proof that the moon landing never happened. Buzz Aldrin himself has even said, hey, that didn't happen. We filmed it right here in a studio, safely with feet on the earth. Couple all of that with the 6 doppelgangers of the 7 deceased Challenger shuttle members who are out there living their best life. Same faces, same name.
This issue that flat earthers have with NASA is an unhealthy obsession and really has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Buzz Aldrin never said what she and others claim he said. And claims of fake NASA footage and the fake moon landing is pure projection on their part. Bringing up the Challenger astronauts still being alive is highly disrespectful to their memories and to their families and loved ones who still mourn their deaths.
Guys, the Bible states clearly there's a firmament above us, an impenetrable dome. In fact, it is so important it is right there on page 1 of the Bible. God created a firmament above the earth to separate the waters from the waters, and he called the firmament heaven. So if there's an impenetrable dome above us, space travel is virtually impossible.
The Bible is not evidence for anything, especially the shape of the earth, yet is exploited as if it is the supreme guide to everything in the universe, because flat earthers just don't understand.
And you believe that NASA was formed as a diversion to keep people from nosing around from Admiral Byrd's discovery down by the South Pole. Admiral Byrd discovered land, lots of land, undiscovered land, down by Antarctica. But sadly, after his television interview explaining this, Byrd passed away. A year later, NASA was formed. A year after that, the Antarctic Treaty was signed by all 12 countries, making exploration impossible. Well, that seems suspicious.
Case in point to not understanding Antarctica and what Admiral Byrd said. The 48 states that make up the contiguous United States can fit on Antarctica with land to spare. Check out all that land beyond the South Pole. Admiral Byrd's television interview was on March 5, 1947. He died on March 11, 1957, a full decade later. According to the History of the Antarctic Treaty System on the Library of Congress's website, linked below, several countries claimed sovereignty over parts of Antarctica, but some of those territories overlapped. Several other countries explored it, but claimed no sovereignty over any area. During the International Geophysical Year of 1957 and 1958, 12 countries met and agreed that their political and legal differences would not interfere with the shared goal of scientific discovery and research on the continent. This agreement helped to form the Antarctic Treaty. The treaty was signed by those 12 countries on December 1st, 1959. Since then, 38 other nations representing 2/3 of the Earth's population have signed on to the treaty. And since its enactment, the Antarctic Treaty has had a few additions added to it over the years. NASA was established on July 29, 1958. One of Flat Earth's mantras is correlation is causation. However, those with critical thinking skills know it's correlation is not causation.
Many believe that Antarctica is actually an ice wall, a total circumference around all of our continent, keeping waters of the oceans in place. There are multiple maps just like this that depict a potential truth of what our world really is. There we are in the middle. Just beyond our ice wall lie other continents and another ice wall surrounding them. Beyond their ice wall, more continent and another circular ice wall. There are also maps like this one, showing multiple continents with ice walls around it that cover the surface of Earth, with one large ice wall at the end of it. There is not one single reference in the Bible that the earth is round, but there are references to things such as, and I placed the earth on its foundation. You can't really put a foundation on a sphere. The four corners of Earth are mentioned multiple times. I don't care how many times I spin a tennis ball, I cannot find four corners on it. But when I said, I discovered something in Book of Enoch that just might clear all of this up and answer our questions right now. Chapter 27, God said to Enoch, as he was explaining and describing how he created the earth, "And I commanded that there should be taken from light and darkness, and I said, be thick. And it became thus, and I spread it out with the light, and it became water. And I spread it out over the darkness, below the light. And then I made firm the waters, that is to say, the bottomless, and I made foundation of light around the water, and created 7 circles from inside." And imagined the water like crystal, wet and dry, that is to say, like glass. Well, I don't know about you, but that's a really good way to describe ice. Wet and dry water, like glass. Chapter 28. "And then I made firm the heavenly circle. I collected the sea in one place and bound it together with a yoke. And I said to the sea, behold, I give you your eternal limits, and you shall not break loose from your component part." He clearly told Enoch he made 7 circles of ice to keep the waters of earth within. And I think now we have our answer.
Again, the Bible is not evidence for anything, especially the shape of the earth, yet is exploited as if it is the supreme guide to everything in the universe, because flat earthers just don't understand.
This is what I think the earth looks like when I say it's flat. A flat surface with a dome above us. This was also shown in SpongeBob predictive programming. Sandy Cheeks is the only mammal. She lives under a dome with the tree of life. Also, planes have to correspond with the earth plane, therefore flying straight and corresponding with the ground, which is flat. The clouds also correspond with the ground, which is flat. You ever got on an airplane and you rode above the clouds and the clouds was flat? Yeah, the clouds are corresponding with the earth plane. Also, not to mention when Kong threw this stick at the dome. So we live on flat land with a dome above us. Flat land, dome above. Oh, and also there's water outside of the firmament. Flat land, dome above us. Outside of the dome is the ocean of heaven. Above that is the heaven of heavens.
Yes, Sandy Cheeks is a squirrel who lives under the sea in a dome with a tree in it, filled with air because, being a mammal, she needs air to breathe. However, she is a character in SpongeBob SquarePants, which is a cartoon, thus not evidence for a flat, domed Earth. Planes do fly level, which in this case is flying perpendicular to the center of the Earth. Clouds are not flat, and neither corresponds with the Earth plane. King Kong is a movie, and like SpongeBob SquarePants, is again not evidence for a flat, domed Earth.
Good evening. Aloha from Florida. So the last few days I've been watching the moon. It's right there now. Getting more and more full. It is waxing right now. And tomorrow it'll be almost a full moon in a blue sky. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? That's an impossibility on the heliocentric nonsense delusion hypothesis. You would not see an almost full moon in a blue sky if the sun were huge and 93 million miles behind the moon. You would see a tiny sliver of the moon, or maybe a tiny bit more, or none of it even. It's ridiculous.
Here we have another video that needs individual talking points addressed. Yes, he actually said you would not see an almost full moon in a blue sky if the sun were huge and 93 million miles behind the sun. Yet another flat earther not understanding. Dear oh dear.
To look at what we see with our own eyes and then trust what we were taught by the government indoctrination camps about the earth and astronomy. Some people want to say, well, come on, dude, this flat earth is so stupid. We've known that the earth is a sphere for 2,000 years. No, we haven't. Whoever we are that was here 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it wasn't you and me. It wasn't us. It was a civilization before us. And all of them, whether it was the Egyptians or the Babylonians or, probably the oldest cosmology is the Vedic cosmology, in my opinion. All of the ancient cultures depicted the earth as flat and stationary with the sky over us like a dome, like the whole entire earth system was an enclosed system through all the depictions of the earth from the ancient cosmologies. We've studied dozens of them.
Apparently, this guy has issues with human beings who gained new knowledge and taught other human beings about that knowledge, who in turn gained new knowledge and taught other human beings, and so on and so forth since 1 AD. It's all about the ancient of ancient civilizations and what he perceives in what they knew of the world at the time. No wonder he's a flat earther.
So this argument is another false claim by the pseudoscience community that we've known the earth is round for 2,000 years. No, we have not. The entire heliocentric nonsense in history, if you can even trust the historical narrative of the government scriptures, only goes back about 500 years. And I think, honestly, this is just my opinion right now, it's only been going for 150 or 200 years.
To state one's opinions as fact, you need evidence to back them up. Otherwise, they are just words that can be dismissed.
Whatever reset has happened that wiped out humanity or wiped out a civilization before us, or possibly multiple civilizations before us, we honestly don't know what year it is. You think it's the year 2023. What if it's the year 1023 or 1223? There's theories that say both of those numbers might be correct. But it's certainly not the year 2023 with a bunch of pathetic little primitive humans that lived 500 years ago that built unbelievable, amazing structures everywhere across the surface of our flat earth with obvious knowledge of energy and frequency and vibrations, building these huge structures with perfect symmetry, sacred geometry, and cymatic patterns built right into the buildings. That wasn't my great-great-great-great-grandfather's, and it wasn't yours either. There was another civilization here, probably not too long ago, within the last 400 or 500 years, it seems to be, that knew so much more about our enclosed earth and how things work here, and built those buildings in perfect alignment to the solstices and the equinoxes. We don't build anything like that stuff today.
Of course, we know it isn't actually 2023. The Gregorian calendar was created by a monk called Dionysius Exiguus in early 6th century AD. The birth of Christ represented year 1. In China, the calendar year is 4721. In the Hebrew calendar, it's 5,783. In India, their traditional calendar, Vikram Samvat, used in India by all Hindus, is said to be set 57 years ahead of the Gregorian calendar, so it's 2080. Note how he called people who lived 500 years ago a bunch of pathetic, primitive little humans, and implied that they could not build the impressive, massive structures that do exist from that time period. It had to be people from a more advanced civilization who knew what they were doing that built them, in his opinion. I guess people from a more advanced civilization made that enclosed vehicular transport that he's driving down the road, that communication device he's using to record with, the internet that he gets so he can upload his recordings, and everything else he uses in his daily life.
There's a lot of them still remaining, and a lot of them were destroyed intentionally. Go research the St. Louis World's Fair. Go research the Chicago World's Fair. Go research the World's Fair in Brazil. Go research any and all old world fairs back around the year 1880 to 1920, all through there, and look at those buildings. Chicago looks like what you would think of as ancient Rome. But here's the deal about these buildings. They're not Greco and they're not Roman. Ancient Greece people didn't build them. Romans didn't build them. The Catholics sure as hell did not build the Vatican. Americans did not build the Capitol buildings. Even the Capitol buildings in our actual capital of Washington, D.C., we inherited all those buildings and repurposed them. Most of the old world ancient buildings were inherited and repurposed as government buildings, colleges or universities, and religious buildings or churches. The cathedrals that you know of today as ancient buildings from 500 years ago, those were never churches or cathedrals for worshiping your version of whoever God is, whatever version of religion that you have subscribed to. Those buildings were not built as Christian buildings or Muslim buildings or Jewish buildings. Those buildings were built by a civilization here before us who knew the earth was flat and stationary. So this argument is so beyond stupid when you hear these pseudoscientists claim, come on, the guys, flat earth is so dumb. We've known the earth is round like a ball for 2,000 years. No, we haven't. Everyone 2,000 years ago, whoever they were, they knew with absolute certainty, and with the architecture that they created all across the surface of the flat earth, they knew the earth was flat and stationary.
Like W.C. Fields once said, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
So you can believe whatever you want to believe, but if you actually trust your own eyes and research reality and start researching some history as well. I mean, if you want to have a good laugh, just go do a Wikipedia search for some of these old buildings and listen to the stories they tell. Some of these massive, huge buildings were allegedly erected in 1 year in the late 1800s and early 1900s, before power tools, before electricity. Massive stone buildings with art all over them. The sculptures are almost as impossible as the buildings themselves. And yet, if you go read some Wikipedia descriptions of these buildings, the claims that they make, and you will crack up if you actually think about what they're saying, that people with horse and buggy technology built these buildings, some of them in 1 year. You couldn't even build those buildings in 1 year today with all the technology that we have. So who were the people? I don't know. Did they think the earth was a globe? No, absolutely not. Hell no. They knew that the earth was flat and stationary, just as I do. So remember, those of you who think it's crazy that flat earthers think the earth is flat, we don't think the earth is flat. We know it is. So that's it for now. I ranted enough. Have a good night. God bless.
No, do not do Wikipedia research. Wikipedia is good for finding sources and images that you can reverse search on Google, but that's it in my opinion. Go to actual historical or educational sites instead. You may have to dig for them to do it correctly, but don't do it the Flat Earth way. That is all the Flat Earth derp I think we can take for now. As a palate cleanser, I will leave you with 25 actual quotes from Flat Earthers. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
You ever wonder what a flat earther really believes? Here's 25 actual quotes.
Simply put, we live on a flat earth
under a solid dome called the firmament. Of course, there's land beyond the ice wall. There's continents and countries we have yet to discover. Around the perimeter of our flat Earth is the continent of Antarctica. All major countries signed a treaty to never fly over Antarctica. You know why? Because then we'd all know the Earth is flat. Google Earth can't even measure Antarctica. Try it. No, I've seen pictures of clouds on the other side of the sun. No, I know they're real. The moon does not reflect the sunlight. It gives off its own light. The sun and the moon are actually way closer than they tell us, and they pass right over our head like a train going by into the distance. You do know, on their website, NASA admits the Earth is flat. If Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, why didn't it fling off all the ocean water? Not to mention all the people. Nobody from anywhere has an unedited photo of Earth as a ball floating in the sky, in spite of all the satellites and all the telescopes floating around in space. Ships don't disappear over the horizon. They disappear into the mist and the haze hovering over the ocean. Well, water doesn't bend, so there's that. The Bible says the Earth is flat. You gonna believe man or God? For real, I saw a laser shoot 200 miles. Flat. There is no curve. If Earth was a ball, why don't mountains just fall off the bottom? You know, gravity is not a fact. It's just a theory. International flights make complete sense on a flat Earth. Don't make sense at all on a globe. Every image of a curved horizon was taken with a fisheye lens, so of course it's curved. International pilots can tell you all you need to know about our flat Earth. If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, I should be able to fly up in a helicopter straight up for 1 hour and come back down and land in a completely different spot. Mobile applications that identify stars in the sky were built on a spherical Earth model, probably by NASA. People who live below the equator can't see the North Star because it's too far for them to see it. If the Earth is spinning, going around the sun, and our whole solar system is moving, why do we see the same stars every single night? Stars are not actual objects. They're just points of light. So let me get this straight. You want me to believe Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It's going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. The whole universe is traveling at what, 1 billion miles an hour? You want me to believe that?